we thought that it would be fantastic to let Ira host this presentation. We all love Ira Steven Behr, right? So, I haven't even spoken to him yet, but if he's back there, can you send out Ira and we'll get this party started, okay? Please welcome Ira Steven Behr!
Okay, so we have a bunch of people coming in. We have Nicole de Boer. We have the lovely James Masterson. We have the lovely Andy Robinson.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Vietnam.
Good morning. Good morning. What a beautiful room. Look at this. Really looks gorgeous.
All right.
The band even.
Okay.
Yeah. Colors. Look at this body.
Take on.
And you are beautiful. How are you?
So I have a question just to get this party started. How many of you out there considered yourselves fans of Deep Space Nine? During 1993 to 1999 when the show was on the air. Okay, I'll buy it. I'm not sure I do. Where were you all when we were doing it? Anyone out there who identifies as a DS9 hater? That's good to see. Because why would you be here? That would just be masochistic of you if you did that. So, okay. So I get to moderate it. I could be sitting here, but I thought I would sit with my peeps. So I have a question. I'm going to ask a couple of questions. Where do you stand? Where does the audience stand if they want to ask questions? On the side? Okay, so I'm going to ask questions until I see enough people wanting to ask questions, and then I will turn it over to you. But let's begin. Okay, here's a question for everyone. We'll just go down the line, which means we can start with you.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. I'm ready.
School, and you guys can think about it while she answers.
My brain ain't working yet, but it should.
Okay, well, you're last, so you've got some time.
Do you have a defining moment? Looking back, you have one season to look back on, but you had so many episodes and did so much in that season. Do you have one defining moment that you think of when you think of your time on Deep Space Nine?
One defining moment?
One defining moment.
I have a few. Okay, there's kind of two. One's just sort of random, which is how life is. It's like a random thing. My first definite defining moment was my very first scene that I had to do. Coming in and seeing Avery and Brock Peters in the room and having to come in that first day and have my first scene and say, it's me, Ezri Dax, you know, and I was nervous, but not as nervous as you would think. I was very prepared and very excited for it, and just seeing the set, although it wasn't the usual set like Promenade and all that, but just to actually be there in that moment, I remember thinking, I'm going to remember this always. You know, exactly what everything looks like right now. Exactly the way Brock is looking at me, exactly the way Avery's looking at me, exactly the way Sirach's looking at me. And it's always stuck with me, and it's a very vivid memory. And my other one, can I just say, it's so random. I said this to Aaron the other night. It was coming out of the wardrobe of the makeup trailer, and just seeing Sadiq sitting there, maybe having a smoke, and Aaron, he's already all done up, and just shooting the shit with them. You know, just coming out, and Aaron and I would tease each other. Just that moment also sticks with me always. And just really what it means is just how blessed I felt, how wonderful the experience was, and just that little moment always replays in my mind, you know? Just so happy to be there and be part of it and be with these wonderful actors and wonderful people.
Looking in and thinking the way you look tonight.
Yeah.
Looking at them. It's beautiful.
Chase?
I definitely have one, and it is from the last day of the shoot of the show. And all of us were there, whether we were in the scene that day or not. It was, the scene we shot was Jimmy singing The Way You Look Tonight. And I remember Ira and his team of writers walking in with their hair cut, so you know it was special, and wearing these 60s suits so that they could be in the scene with Jimmy and Holosuite. And that day at lunch, and this is the defining moment, that day at lunch we were all in a soundstage, about 300 of us, everyone that worked on the show. We all had lunch all together, and they were playing The Magnificent Ferengi and other episodes on televisions around the room, and the defining moment is really, Ira got up on the scaffolding, and because it was a large room and everyone needed to see, and Ira stood there and told us how much working on this show and this show itself meant to him. And for a man that central, that incredibly foundational to what Deep Space Nine was. I mean, you are the heart and soul of Deep Space Nine, Ira. And for you to have, and everyone else too, but you drove this show in a way that no one else could have. And for a man with that amazing amount of talent and passion and comedy and pathos and drama and heart to tell the stories that you told, and also have the humility and grace to say thank you and how much it meant to you, that was incredibly beautiful. And that's why these stories are as powerful as they are, because that was the heart of the writing team that Ira helmed. That's why this show is what it was and why you're here today, right?
Andy, your story better be funny.
You know, I don't do funny. I don't do funny. Funny's not my deal. When I try to be funny, it's like, you know, like bricks falling down. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to be honest, okay, which I think is a good, you know, equivalent to funny. As I told you, Ira, earlier today, I didn't want to come in for the audition to do Garak. You know, you'd seen me 20 times for Odo. You didn't hire me. I'm not holding it. No, please, because I have nothing but respect for Renee. The right guy got the job. But I didn't want to come in for Garak. And so my wife, you know, told me that, you know, we're broke and you need to work. So I came in and you hired me. And, you know, so I got to the studio for my first day's work at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I thought, I've never had a call like this before in my life. Then they started putting on all this crap. I'm claustrophobic. And the more pieces they put on, the weirder it got and the more scared I got. Then they put on that black rug called the wig. And then they put on the furniture pad called a costume. and I'm sweating like a pig, and I'm thinking, I gotta call my agent, I gotta get out of here, I can't do this. And then I looked in the mirror, and I saw this thing looking back at me. And the actor in me, who's smart, knew that this was an opportunity. And this is the truth. At that point, I was able to suspend my claustrophobia enough, and the rest is histoire.
Me?
Go ahead, Jimmy, bring it home.
I'm sorry, I was sleeping.
I'm not coming to your show tonight.
I don't have a
Doesn't
show.
have one. Boo! That, right?
Why doesn't your show tonight?
Tell me why I'm not performing? Why? Oh, I don't know. You know what?
We're still raving about last year, that's why.
What was interesting for me was when as Vic, the first thing I remember is I woke up and I was surrounded by people who were dressed like the trapeze act, you know? And then as I thought about it more, I realized that was the least of the problems. Some of the defining moments for me, of course, when I sang with Avery, that was just, first of all, I love him, he's great, he's a wonderful actor, great singer, and wonderful musician. And also, of course, the end of the show, which we almost never got through, my singing Just the Way You Look Tonight, because every time I'd go to Nana, I'd be singing to her, and she'd start crying, and I'd start crying. So they had to cut, and then we go back and do it again and try to do it. So those were two very, very moving moments for me, and I just didn't want to believe that the show was ending. You know, I don't think any of us did, because we loved working on the show so much. I mean, Ira really, he just started my career all over again. I was working on a farm in Kentucky, and not really. but if it wasn't for Ira, really, I swear to you, I mean, he started my singing career all over again, my acting career all over again, performing. He's a guy, man. He's a guy. And of course, all the moments I had with Nana and with Renee, I loved it. Just explaining the facts of life to Renee, which is kind of interesting. But I had a great time. I love the show. I miss it, but it's still part of my life, and I'll always be thankful for that. Thank you, Ira, my buddy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ira. Thank you, Ira.
Okay, we'll get to the fans in a minute because they seem to be lining up now, but I do have another question I'd like to ask you guys, and, you know, hopefully something will come to mind. Is there something you can share with the audience and with me that we did not give you, that you wish the writers had the intelligence to have given you? Something, whatever it was, that you were hoping that your character would get to do that we totally screwed up, and you still feel to this day the emptiness that we left you with. It happens. So is there anything about Ezri Dax?
How could that be possible? There was so much Ezri Dax in the last season. How would that really be possible, Ira? I mean, no, certainly not at that time. Perhaps now, maybe looking back, but certainly not. I don't know. I think that, or you know, it's an interesting question too, is what do you continue to learn from your character? Is something that is fascinating to me too, because when I first played Ezri as a trill, you know, and that represents what you'd already explored before, but it hadn't quite occurred to me. I was playing the whole idea of the social anxiety and discomfort of being this new person and how that affects the relationships that you're going through and everything. And as fans start to send you all this lovely fan mail and stuff, you realize how much you've helped people they say that the character of Ezri Dax really helped me through some hard times because she was going through she was wanting to be accepted. It was very awkward for her. And then as more time got on, I was learning about how Ezri Dax meant a lot to people who identify as non-binary or trans. And then it hit me, of course, that makes so much sense. You know, of course, at the time, I realized it to a certain degree. You know what I mean? Of course, I'm being called the old man. Once a woman, you explored it with Jadzia and the relationship she had and the big kiss and all of that. But it didn't really. It continues to inform me and it continues to make me think about that. And perhaps that, now looking back, that is something that, you know, but I think right as we discussed that before, that we maybe missed a little opportunity back then, but you know, you learn as you go, but the whole idea of how that must feel for someone to go, why can't I do that? Look, Dax can just switch a body. They can have a male body one time in one life and then a female body in the next, and I can relate to that, and that's something I'm learning more and more, like, yeah, that really makes sense. So Ezri Dax continues to inform me, and I continue to learn from her through hearing from fans tell me how much she's meant to them.
Well, it's interesting. You know, it's interesting that Nikki said that, because one of the things we've been talking about while we've been doing the never-ending doc is that, you know, we could have handled that issue. You know, we did a wonderful episode, Rejoined, but that was an episode, and we could have done more. We certainly had the characters and the opportunity, but you know, the 90s were a different time, I guess. But that's definitely one of the things that I regret. So there you go. You hit that on the head. Chase?
I have a question though. Did you have to fight for that big kiss to happen? Was that something that was...
You know, compared to the things we had to fight for, like having Cisco shave his head, which was a never-ending fight, that was a much bigger 3-year fight. The kiss, no, that was not a fight.
That's good. So for me, along the lines of the Star Trek theme of things are not always what they seem, and the book, you can't judge a book by its cover. I loved everything I had with Leeta, and so grateful. I would have loved for Leeta to have more obvious guts and more edge, I think. More something where she really came in to save the day, you know, because you wouldn't have expected that of Leeta. Leeta, in many ways, was a Bechdel case, and you know, loving wife and mother, and loving, you know, strong but Dabo girl figure, you know, that kind of thing. So that would have been great fun. That said, I loved Leeta's passion for what was right, for justice, for standing up in the Ferengi rebellion. I loved her love for Rom, and that's a very, very Star Trek message. Loving the guy who was only pretty on the inside, loving the guy who was the underdog, runt brother, who now is Grand Nagus. That's about the most Star Trek message you can get, right? Seeing someone walk into their full potential, pretty beautiful. I am eternally grateful.
Why wasn't I in the baseball episode? That's my beef.
Wow,
That's my beef. No, listen, Garak, and I mean this, Garak was perfect. I mean, it was the most beautifully written role. And this funny that this kind of segs into your first question. The defining moment for me ended when I did the episode called The Wire that was written by Robert Wolfe, and I did the kind of acting. When I saw it, I realized I had never done better acting in my life, and I've been in some really good projects, and that sealed it for me. And from then on, the writing of the character, every time the character came down the pipe, except for the alternate universe episodes, which I know were very popular. And then,
No, you hated those.
I hated those, but that's okay. But that's fine. That's fine. I was willing to do those because the rest of it was pure gravy.
I think the reason you were not in the baseball episode, I've been sitting here thinking, why wasn't Garak in the baseball episode? Because obviously Garak would have been in league with the Vulcans, I guess. We couldn't trust Garak what side he would have been on. He could have dropped a very important, fly ball, and that would have ended the game, so that's why you weren't there.
That's already a better episode than what you did, what you just gave us right now. I'm kidding.
You could be right.
I kid you, Ira.
I love the alternate universe. I like it, and
We win it for 2 seconds and we blew you
I
out.
only needed 2 seconds. That's my life, You done? No. My wife walks by and says, "You have a minute?" Just a minute, honey.
Back on point.
That's back on point. Let me get my brain. What? Oh, I was giving advice to Odo and to Kira, of course, trying to get those two together. And what I wanted, and would love to have had, Ira, was just a little love interest of some kind. Anything. I need love. Just a little, here's this hip guy. I love you. I love you too. Hey, you free? You busy next week? Okay. No, I'm serious. I would love to have just a little fling, anything, because that character Vic, he was pretty hip. He'd been around the block a few times. He knew all the guys. He knew Sammy and Frank and Dean. What the heck? I didn't need a nurse. You know what I mean? I was ready. It would have been fun,
The Hollis Week could have been running while we weren't there, so who knows what Vic was doing.
That's right. That's what I kept saying to myself. I just had a wonderful time.
There you go. Okay, I really hate it when I'm on a panel and people are waiting to ask questions and then we have to stop it and they don't get a chance to ask their questions. So let's get that ball rolling. I guess we'll start on my left.
Hi, this is a question for everybody. I'm assuming that all the characters went on and obviously First Lady of Ferenginar and leader of Free Cardassia, holographic touring ship of the galaxy. If you had your own starship, what would you call it?
Agnes.
Oh, the mother of all starships.
Actually, in the doc, we name a starship, and you will see what I would name the starship in the doc. And that is actually true. So when you watch it, you'll see the name. It's a starship that Ezri and Dr. Bashir are on in episode 1 of the mythical season 8 that we break in the writer's room. So you'll see what we would have named the starship if we had a chance.
I think I would have called mine a Buick.
Wow, that's news to me. Pretty excited about that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, they're just kibitzing up here.
Okay. Yeah, I really have been a fan since 1993. I remember I studied in England in '94, and I had to defend the merits of Deep Space Nine against the Next Generation, against this group of just rabid English fans who just absolutely love the Next Generation. Which I'm not saying Next Generation is bad, but I was trying to defend Deep Space Nine. So I've been a fan since this show started. My question to you is, I feel like the Next Generation was really more philosophically minded, and Deep Space Nine was more social and political, such to the point that it was timelessly social and political. In that, I have found, and I teach at a college in California, and I've used episodes of Deep Space Nine still to this day, and it's so relevant to various issues tackled by that show. How do you all feel being part of a show that is so relevant, sometimes even more relevant today than it was in the 90s. Like, you called the Patriot Act perfectly. What was that episode? I think it's The Siege or whatever, where they shut down Earth and they have all the rights taken. I mean, that's exactly what happened like with the Patriot Act. So, I mean, incredibly relevant show and before its time.
All I would say, if I could answer that one, is that at the time, I was always saying in the writer's room, I don't want to do any social-oriented shows because we're preaching to the converted. It's not like anyone's watching this show who's going to disagree with what we're saying, so we'll all feel good about, you know, the story we're telling, but really what does it mean? And then someone would pitch an idea, or I would come up with something about the homeless, and suddenly it was like, okay, we'll do that episode, but we're not doing any socially oriented episodes, you know? And now I look back, and obviously on Sunday, this showing Far Beyond the Stars, which is getting its own panel, and I can talk about that forever. But yeah, it's odd how, looking back, all those shows that I kept telling myself I didn't want to do, and that we did anyway, I'm proud of those shows, and I think we're all proud of those shows. I think there were a lot of the good things, and I think a lot of the most interesting things that Deep Space Nine did was on the episodes that were not, you know, the issue show of the week. You know, we touched on a lot of things that we just kind of slid in there in the comedy episodes or the humorous episodes, or, you know, so yeah, I think it is part of the legacy of the show, and I am proud of that legacy. And thank you for fighting for us in England.
Absolutely.
Hello. Well, first off, I don't mean to make you feel old, but I would have been a fan of 93 if I was born.
You love you even more for that. Trust me. The other fans, Avery Brooks called me up about and said, we have fans who weren't born when the show was on. It's so fantastic.
But I'm a huge fan now, so thank you for that. And so y'all have already touched on this a little bit, so I apologize that it's a little redundant, but just Deep Space Nine definitely is unique to me, and it's the series where the themes and ideas have resonated with me most and really shaped me personally and struck me and stuck with me. So I was just curious, what themes or ideas from the show have really struck you and stuck with you?
Well, I'll begin with The Wire. I mean, The Wire was about addiction, and it was a hardcore look at addiction. It was like right up there with Lost Weekend, and you know, I mean, in terms of the way it went into it. I mean, that, as I say, that's when I realized that this show, you know, I mean, that I was a part of this show, and I feel very strongly that, you know, this show never shied away from these themes, for which I'm grateful.
One of the most powerful moments for me in the entire 7 seasons was when Dukat lost his daughter Zial.
Yeah.
It was
Zial.
Which Zial? One of them. I think wasn't this Melanie?
Maybe.
Anyway, it was so powerful because his grief was never ending, and yet look who he was. And it spoke so clearly to me of the need for peace and how in war no one wins, and how important it is for us to realize, for countries and people to realize that when they are the aggressors, they will also lose.
Should we go to this guy here?
All right, this is for everybody. But Ira, first of all, movies. I have been asking everybody at CBS to get a movie for you guys. Ira, would you make the movie? And secondly, would you guys go in the movie?
In a New York minute.
And you guys do it.
I think we'd all love to do a movie, of course. How about you? Would you like to be in it?
The movie's in your mind. You know, it's we all have the DS9 movie in our minds, and that's where it's going to have to stay. I believe. Obviously, we all would have done it. Avery called me a few years ago with an idea to get a movie off the ground. It's not us, you know. We don't control the franchise, let alone this series. So, you know, you're asking the wrong people. Obviously, we would do it. You know that. We've talked about this for many years at these conventions.
And we still want it. All of us want it.
I know you want it, but you know, it's just we are not the ones who pull that trigger. So I thank you for, you know, that continued support. But 170 episodes, guys. I know we're all Americans and we want more, but 170 episodes is a pretty good amount of episodes for a TV show.
Can I just say this real fast? If you want more Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Online is a great place to go. There's an episode right now with a Ferengi heist and a lot of incredible Star Trek themes, and the artwork is beautiful. You can walk through the promenade. It's fantastic.
It really is.
There you go.
Really well done.
Fantastic.
Hey everyone, second to the previous gentleman's comments, I watched Deep Space Nine in Australia through the 90s. All my friends did in high school, it was about 15 of us. It was our jam. I don't really have a question so much as just a statement of gratitude to you, because Deep Space Nine has continued to influence me throughout my life. The authenticity of all the characters, from the writing and the performances, gave me the courage to come out as a gay man. Also, it being so inspired by the performances, I became an actor and made a living as an actor in Australia, and even got to Los Angeles to pursue a career here. So I just want to thank you guys and pass it on to the cast members and the writers. I'm going to cry, but you guys mean so much to me, and the show is absolutely incredible. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I just want to say something to these guys. You know, that's a beautiful, you know, that kind of sums it up in ways, you know, we're not thinking about how the show reaches other people. But this is 25 years. We haven't even said that in this panel. This is the 25th year. And this is the victory lap. You know? And you all need to remember that. I need to remember that. Everyone who's here from the show over the next couple of days needs to remember that. Most people don't get a victory lap. Most people don't come within a mile of a victory lap. So enjoy this. Enjoy this victory lap. All of you should enjoy it, but you guys really need to enjoy it because it's yours. And own it.
What are you looking at me for? I'm having a good time, man.
I'm thinking what
I'm having a really good time. I mean, listen, this is pure joy.
Ask that weird question. What were we supposed to say? We had to say something. We love you.
Are you having a bad time?
No, I'm having a ball.
Good.
I know these people are
I know that guy.
chomping at the bit. Yes, sir.
So this question is for Mr. Robinson, but if it applies to you, please jump in. So the writer's room gave us so many great hints at Garak's past. You know, Gardner on Romulus, so many other great backstory. And your eyes, even behind all that makeup, always was like you were hiding something. So did you, as an actor, come up with any secret backstory that you used to make your character?
I wrote the book, A Stitch in Time. That was the backstory. And that's the reason I wrote it, because, you know, as an actor, you do this thing, you know, when you don't know what the hell you're playing, you start writing something down and making stuff up about the character, so you've got something to play. And so that's how that Stitch in Time came about, exactly for that reason. Absolutely.
Read the book.
Okay, first I'm going to give you my excuse. From 1989 to 2012, I was in the Navy, and I spent most of the 90s either overseas or at sea. I saw about half the episodes on syndication, but the station I watched them on didn't show them in order, so it kind of was hard to follow. Over the last year, I've binge-watched the entire series, and it's amazing. The characters, the storyline, and the journeys, and the visuals, and the journeys not just of the main characters, but also of the recurring characters like the Ferengi family and Garak. And I gotta say, Mr. Robinson, I had completely overlooked Garak because in the syndication run, I'd only seen a couple of the Garak episodes. But now that I've seen the whole show, new admiration and respect for Garak. Absolutely awesome character. And the last thing I'll say is, as a bonus, I binge watched it by downloading it to my tablet and watching it when I worked out. And it helped me keep on a regular schedule, and I ended up losing about 50 pounds.
For your service. Thank you for your service.
This is more of a behind-the-scenes technical question. When you would get your scripts for the episodes, would it just be your scenes, or the whole script, or your scenes and scenes that were relevant to make the scenes you were in have more context for it?
You get the entire script.
Yeah, they were generous, you know. I mean, they gave us the whole script.
9 pages, but the whole script. No, you always get the whole script.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's important.
You have to read the story. And, yeah, you couldn't just... If someone just gave you your lines, that would be kind of...
Thank you.
Especially with a show like this, yeah.
Although I have worked on things where it wouldn't really matter. Someone
Right.
they just read their lines. My line, you say something, my line, right?
Blah, my line, blah, blah,
yeah.
blah, line.
You talk, I talk.
This show.
This idea.
Yes, hi. For those of us who have children here or have grown up raising our children and watching the shows to become fans, what's one thing that you would like to impart to them as your character? Something that resonated with you in the show?
Never tell the same lie twice.
I don't have anything to say. Actually, I couldn't top that.
I would just say, expect your parents to treat you like Benjamin Sisko treated Jake.
That's good.
Or like I treated Nog. Right? That little guy, I loved him. Even when you get out of line, I loved him. You know? But that was cool. All right, sorry.
I would say an overall Star Trek message, which was extremely evident in Deep Space Nine, beautifully evident. Infinite diversity in infinite combinations is the key to the world we want to live in. And support that in every way we can.
Yeah, I agree with that, for sure.
My question is for Ira, and my question is, what process do you go through in writing an episode?
What process do I go through in writing an episode? You know, the easy glib question is, you know, let's just take Deep Space Nine, obviously. It was just such a rich environment. There was so much going on that, and to be able to face that blank page with nothing, zip, you know, the great unknown, and be able to fill the pages with what I considered interesting stuff. I mean, I really wasn't thinking about anyone else, except when when Robert was with me, or Pete Fields, or Hans Beimler. You know, we wrote the episodes for ourselves. You know, we had to like them, we had to believe in them. So you just wail away at the story. You know, if you have a good story, writing a script is pretty easy. It's you lay out the path and you follow that path and you're in good shape. So really, the story meetings that we had, those fantastic story meetings, every day, half a day, we would be in the writer's room, you know, coming up with these fiendish little ideas, knowing what was going to happen. So yeah, you know, it's just, you have to, like I said, with everything, you have to own it. You have to be willing to own the story that you're working on and trust yourself that it's going to be okay.
Hi, I'm a big fan, and I love the Dominion War arc. I like seeing what it's like when Starfleet goes to war. It's the first real armed conflict we've seen in Star Trek. And I wanted to know for everyone, what was your favorite part about the Dominion War arc?
I couldn't believe how much I was in it. Like, honestly, every time I get another script, I think, I'm in this too, I'm in this too. I mean, that was my favorite part.
There is something to be said for getting out alive. We weren't under contract, so they could have killed us off at any time.
Somehow I ended up on a bridge. I don't know, it was pretty amazing. I got to do the shake, so I was pretty thrilled about that.
My question is for Mr. Robinson and to an extent Ira. So you mentioned at the beginning of the panel that when you were putting on the Cardassian makeup that you were claustrophobic. Is it a coincidence that Garak was also written as claustrophobic? Because in the later seasons we see that it is written into his backstory from the punishings from his father, and we see it when he's in the Jem'Hadar prison camp and his panic attacks in season 4.
You know, I always wanted to ask Ira that.
Did you had mentioned it?
Is that what happened?
You had mentioned it, so we put that in, and plus it fit for that episode. But I do want to just say one thing. You know, a few weeks ago I went up north to see Peter Allen Fields, who is in an assisted living home at the moment. And I just want to give a shout out to Peter because Garak is such a popular character now. Talk about that in the doc too. And Peter Allen Fields is the man responsible for plain simple Garak. You know, the whole thing, Garak's a tailor because Pete Fields worked on The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and to get to U.N.C.L.E. headquarters you went through a tailor shop. So Garak became a tailor. It's very, very, very rare in television or anything, I guess, where one guy writes a character for the first time and just nails that character, and that character is born whole. You know, it's like, oh, we get that character in that first episode. And Peter did that for Garak, and all of us just followed on after him. So I just want to give a shout out to Pete.
Here's the key. I was wondering, so the Taylor thing wasn't based on Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy?
It was based on The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Wow, that's great.
First off, as a queer fan in the 90s, Deep Space Nine meant a lot, and Rejoined holds up beautifully after 20-some years, so thank you. My question is, if you were writing the show now in a somewhat better, more environment, do you have any specific ideas of what you might do different with storyline or characterization for LGBTQ representation?
You know, to an extent, yes, but this is going to be an unsatisfying answer, but we talk about it in the doc, and I just don't I feel all my doc peeps out there would be very unhappy if I gave that away. But let me tell you, it's been on my mind a lot, you know, in this, especially in the last year, that, you know, which has been just so doc, you know, oriented in terms of getting it done. So yes, we do talk about that in the doc, and I'd rather keep it for the doc. But just know that it's been on my mind quite a bit. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, hi. I know that Avery Brooks hasn't made it to conventions for a couple of years, and I just wanted to ask for each of you your favorite moment working with Avery Brooks.
Great question.
By pale moonlight. My second favorite episode. And working with Avery was like working with, I mean, it was like I was playing with John Coltrane or something, you know. I mean, that's how intense and heavy it was. It was beautiful.
Mine, of course, was the duet I did with Avery. And had it not been someone as talented and as rich as Avery is in all his talents, it wouldn't have been half as good, really. I mean, it was just a great moment for me. I loved it. I loved it.
I got to have so many wonderful scenes with Avery. But when he was reassuring me as Dax that I was meant to be there, in that voice of his, that's what really made me feel like I was meant to be there. So I always remember that.
Leeta and Cisco didn't cross paths a whole lot, but when he married Rom and I in that scene, that was really beautiful. He was lovely to work with.
I loved him as a director. I didn't know that I would love him so much as a director. It was really fun because in that episode it was all Ezri and Julian being all, doe-eyed, lovey-dovey and stuff like that. And I thought, is that something Avery's going to be? He was amazing. I didn't realize what an amazing director he would be. And it was wonderful to work with him in that capacity too.
Ira, what year did I come in the show?
1845.
No wonder, I was telling my
You came in the 6th year of the show.
Yes. What I wanted to say was that, of course, I was a newcomer after 6 years, and I must say, my very first day on that set, I felt the cast, and Ira, of course, had made me feel that I was there from the very, very beginning. They were all so wonderful, so warm, so caring. It was just a great, great experience. Great experience. And one little thing, I have a pair of Dean Martin shoes at home. You know Dean Martin? Are you guys here? Anyway, and I wore them through the entire thing. And to make it really authentic, I mean, of course, it was kind of a contraction of Dean and Frank and a couple of guys in the Rat Pack. But when Ira said to me about my tuxedo, he said, I want this to really be authentic. Where did you have your tuxedos made? I said, Cy de Boer. And we went there, Ira and I, and they still had my pattern. Is that amazing? Yeah, thank you, Mom. And they still had the pattern of my shirts. So it was kind of interesting. I mean, Ira wanted it really authentic, and authentic it was. But I must say, I had a great experience with the cast there. I love the cast.
I still have my tux from Cy de Boer, really.
Do you?
Yeah.
When I was there, when I was with Ira, talking about people's old tuxes, they brought out one of Sammy Davis Jr.'s. They still had Sammy. It was this big. Remember that? Sammy's jacket. It was like a glove.
So, first of all, I want to just take this opportunity to just thank you guys for DS9. Ira asked where we were in the 90s, and I want to let you know that I was with my family watching this amazing program. My son, Benjamin, coincidentally, was born in 1993. I'm here with my daughter, whose favorite character was Leeta. But for me, Garak was my favorite character, and this question is for Mr. Robinson. He was probably one of the most complicated and compelling characters in all of Star Trek. And I really appreciated the way the words said one thing and the eyes and the facial expressions said something different, which was all about your acting, absolutely. So you know that the writers wrote this character fantastically, but I'm interested, as the seasons progressed, what of your own personal aspects and experiences in your life did you bring to Garak's unique nature to help mold and evolve that character?
At first, let me say that good writers write for subtext. And I, as someone who's done a lot of bad television, and you can tune into any 70s shows, and I'm not kidding, I quit the business because I did so much crap in the 70s. You're with a lot of writing that had no subtext. It's like acting, like dancing on concrete. But in terms of like, I'm not Garak exists on a page. And so, and obviously Hamlet exists on a page. And so it's like, it doesn't come alive until you, the actor, inhabit and ingest what's there. So everything that then comes out afterwards is about my life. My ability to lie, my ability to obfuscate, my ability to deceive, the interesting thing about Garak for me was that Garak was much smarter than I am. And that's always a great thing, because like when I'm reaching up rather than reaching down, and that's another problem with bad television writing. A lot of the characters I played in the 70s, I was playing down. With Garak, I was always playing up. And, and finding new tops to go over. Anyway.
I do just want to say that one of the things that, living with the show so much these last couple of years again, one of the things that I find just so wonderful about the fan reaction is the realization of how much Garak has become this important character in the show. And I'm not saying it wasn't important when we were doing it, but in terms of the fan response, he was just another, well-liked character. Now, the fact that the fans have embraced the mystery of Garak, the fact that he is a very complicated character, I think it just speaks well for you guys, for Star Trek fans in general. So, good on them and good on you.
Oh man, I'm so grateful, so grateful.
First of all, you all look fantastic. You look like you haven't aged a day, all of you. And, really. And you're all just as pleasant as you are good looking. So God bless you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Questions for Ira. I take it you received a number of spec scripts, many of which were written by fans. Is that Thousands, right? And the vast majority of which were rejected. I was just curious, what were some of the through lines or the common themes that you saw that were red flags or that were problems?
I think for many of the years, a lot of the scripts were basically TNG scripts masquerading as Deep Space Nine scripts, because the people who were writing them were TNG fans, and it takes a while to catch up to the difference in the shows. So I think most of the reasons why the scripts were rejected was Deep Space Nine was a character-driven show. Every time we met with a freelance writer was, how does the story that you are pitching impact on our characters? That's all we care about. We don't care if it's a big sci-fi, concept or an anomaly or it's a social issue. It has to impact on our people, whether they're the 9, main cast or one of the many recurring characters. And that was the toughest thing back then to get, professionals, let alone, people who were just trying to write their first script to understand.
Hello. My question is actually for Andrew Robinson, and I know that In a Pale Moonlight is considered one of the best Deep Space Nine episodes, and I was wondering what episode you thought was Garak's turning point that really kind of revealed and painted the picture of who he was.
Well, I think it was a composite, because it was a mosaic with this character, because you couldn't pin him down, and because there were so many variations to his story, and what was true and what was false, and that was the beauty of it. I do think, however, though, in terms of, I go back to The Wire. I have to go back to The Wire because, and that was so craftily, so beautifully structured, the way Robert Wolfe and the writers had, because Garak told many stories, but many stories in such an emotional place and such a place of pain. And even in his pain and his duress, he was still trying to obfuscate. He was still trying to distract. He was still trying to, you know, keep his cover. And I think that probably was for me, it was the episode.
We're about to be played off by Gary Graham.
You have one more question for this gentleman?
I think we're done. Are we getting played off? Is that not yet?
Wait for you.
Okay.
Where do you want to go?
Hi, sorry. This question's for everyone. I was inspired from just watching the Star Trek Voyager panel yesterday about the practical jokes that they pulled on sets, like having farting contests and turbo lifts. I just want to know, was there a crazy fun day, or maybe a day you were pissed off at a crew or practical joke that you did on another cast member that or happened to you that was really fun, that just, did each of you have a vivid memory of that on set?
I never had fun on that show.
You know, we weren't that kind of crew. We didn't rock that way.
We're in a jokey cast like Voyager. We just weren't.
TNG, Voyager, they had all the fun. These guys came to work. You know, Avery was the number one on the call sheet, and number one guy on the call sheet really sets the tone, and Avery was there to work. He expected everyone to be a goddamn professional, and that's how we rolled, is right. Now you tell us the story that was fun.
No, not at all. Yeah, just that they all seemed more tired by the time I got there. So.
Season 7 was...
I was like, oh, it's kind of like dark and serious around here, isn't it? Right?
It's the Rock and Era, they were...
No, but we did have laughs. Of course we had
I remember the
laughs.
first thing I had with you, Nicole, where I was reaming you.
Oh my God.
I was just
I really cried. I really did cry. It was terrifying, absolutely terrifying, but thrilling and exciting as well to be in a scene with such an amazing actor as Andy Robinson. I mean, but I really did cry. He really did make me cry.
Someone else there?
We have time?
No? Is there a gentleman there with a question?
Yeah.
With the character-driven show, what was your approach to world building, and was there a particular, like, what was your highlight of kind of the worlds that you built?
That's you, Ira.
Look, Mike and Rick in the pilot set the stage for everything. I don't know if they expected us to run with it quite the way we did, but it was all there. They gave us Bajoran politics. They gave us religion, which was not part of the Star Trek universe. They gave us the Ferengi culture, which was a broken culture from TNG, and gave us the chance to fix that, make that into something interesting. They gave us conflict. They gave us everything you could possibly want as writers. So it was the world building, the foundation was there. You know, we just took it as far as we could possibly take it, and then they started to say, whoa, 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 not that far. You know, it's got to be a Star Trek series, so it's like, okay, take the name Star Trek off of it and just call it Deep Space Nine. But anyway, it was really, they're the guys who did it. They're the ones who said it, and we just went with it.
We have time for one more. Is there one more question? No? Nobody's there? Okay. Oh, there you go.
Last question.
I'm so glad to finish out the panel. This is for Chase. Can you tell us what Be Kind means?
Oh, thank you for asking. In 2013, I founded a nonprofit which is called Pop Culture Hero Coalition, which is the first ever nonprofit organization to make a stand against bullying, racism, misogyny, LGBTQIA bullying, cyberbullying, and other forms of injustice, using pop culture stories like Star Trek. We take these stories into schools, pop culture conventions, and children's hospitals to create resilience and healing. We are very grassroots. I've been working for almost full-time for 5 years and never made a dime. We have these t-shirts for sale that support our programs in schools and children's hospitals. I'm very proud of this work and grateful to Star Trek for really being the reason when it all started. So come by our table and get a t-shirt if you like. All donations are tax deductible, and we really appreciate your support for these programs. Make it a better world, right? Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.